Hi, Aunty Vikki. So for everyone who doesn't know, I'm Janelle Parsons from Rise and Thrive, and this is my beautiful Aunty Vikki.
Hello, everyone.
So before we start, I will just make a disclaimer for any trigger warnings that may come from talking openly about domestic violence and the cycle of intergenerational abuse and trauma, as we feel as though our story together we share, and it's not just ours, it's everybody else who's ever gone through any form of trauma and abuse. I feel it's their story as well. So in saying that, Auntie, are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so I've just got a couple of questions, and we'll start with reflecting on our journeys and yours. Can you share with me what it was like living with the trauma of abuse, and how did it actually shape your sense of self growing up?
Okay. As a child, it left me frightened and scared. There's a lot of anger issues brought on by alcohol. So I'd go to bed at night and I'd be scared because I'd hear noises and yelling, and so you're frightened. It affected me in a way that I was a bedwetter, a very nervous child. I didn't have any birthdays, no birthday parties and things like that, because it was always, we can't have that at this house because of what other people would see and what other people would take back from what was happening in our house. So I missed out on a lot of that and a lot of growing up with a happy life. But I had also close neighbours. So with close neighbours, they looked after you. So they could see that these things were happening to you. So they were always had the door opened, and you'd go in and have cake and drink or fruit and things like that. And they would just give the love and the comfort and the security and safeness that you weren't necessarily getting at home because you were trying to escape that.
Yeah, that's really hard, isn't it? When we talk about what it's like to be scared when in your own home, it's a feeling that I know from my experience with going through child abuse. It's no one's going to believe me, or you had to always keep things secrets.
The secrets of the big things.
Yeah, or you would just get in more trouble. Or if you ever did anything wrong, you were so scared because what were you going to face when you got home? And I remember that we had a strong connection, you and I, from the get-go. And we used to always have a lot of barbecues.
Yes.
And I always remember being really attached to you. Like you took me under your wing, like you were trying to protect me when I didn't even know that I needed protection, because it was so normal to me what I was going through.
Yeah. I agree with you there, because I felt that as a child. That's what I'm saying. Any parties at our place was always through alcohol, always caused arguments and fights, and they would become physical fights. And and as a child, you'd see these adults that you look up to for protection, and they were hitting one another and pushing one another, and and it wasn't just within my family. I remember Christmas time, it happened with the next door neighbour, because they parked their car too close to my father's driveway, which set off a reaction with not just my father, my uncles, brothers, and it accelerated really fast. So yes,
there's a lot of history of violence in our family, isn't there? Like it goes back generations.
It goes back generations.
Which is intergenerational abuse and trauma. And it is so hard to be a cycle breaker when it's almost like written into our DNA.
Yeah.
And it's to share a story and carry it down from you as an aunt to me as a child, and looking for that love and support where we felt the same with so many years between us. And it's hard. And you've gone on to raise your children, and I remember when I didn't have you in my life, was a really challenging time, and I felt so abandoned. I didn't have anybody. And just to like go back on when you said there, like at that Christmas time when someone parked the car too close to like Pop's house, and that would set off everything, like so many members of the family. But let's just go into like when I was born. What was the change that happened with Pop when I was born?
He gave up drinking.
Mm.
He changed his life because he didn't want the next generation of children to see him as I saw him, as an
Mm.
alcoholic, as his temper just exploding. He didn't want his next generation to fear him or to be frightened of his outbursts. It was not just, you weren't fearing him, you were fearing his anger, the angry outburst, and like he just couldn't control it. And I knew that. I knew that the drink had affected him in that way, that he could not control his anger issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to give it up for the next generation. So he stopped drinking. And
Yeah.
he gave it up for the next generation. So when you and my children come along, they had a papa that did not drink alcohol. They did
We
not.
never saw him that way. He protected me in so many
That's
ways. He just
correct.
saved me so much. And I feel that would have been really challenging for certain family members to have seen a man that they feared once give me so much love and want to change just like that.
Yes.
So it would have been really hard for him to do that too. Like he was a cycle breaker in a lot of ways. He had sort of come to, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to stop doing this.
Yeah.
And that's a really hard thing to do.
It definitely is. It was very hard for him to do because it also took a toll on his body, but not only his body and his mindset. It was like he was being reborn again, I suppose. He was living his life now as this different person. And he fought with it day after day after day. It wasn't easy giving up the alcohol. I mean, I know that there was a time there that Dad would drink shandies, and he would drink like 3/4 beer and 1/4 lemonade. Then he'd take it down to half and half. Then it was 1/4 to the rest of the lemonade. So he gradually kind to wean himself off rather than go into like Weekend Today, to go into Alcohol Anonymous and all that. He was a very private man, and he had to do this by himself. So he needed all the inner strength that he had, and he was a very strong man to do this.
Yeah. And was he also abused, Pop?
He was brought up in a very strict family situation. Like there was 7 kids, so it was very strict. His father went away to the First World War, Second World War. He suffered PTS.
PTSD?
Yes, with
Yeah.
shell shock. Well, Dad explained to me as shell shocked. He was in active warfare and the bombs going off. He come back with bad images in his head. So he would try to drown them out, and he would drown them out with drink too. So, so my father went through the same cycle of it.
From his dad being in war.
Yeah.
And so
And the effects of the war on him.
So in a lot of ways, you and I are both generations of war crime.
Yes.
And felt that legacy. And it's not that much of a jump between me to get to Pop's dad. You know, there's only you, then me. Like there's not that many generation gap between us.
No, there's not. And when you look at it, back then it was very hard because they don't have things that they have these days. They don't have like the community section where they can go out and seek help. Everything was done privately behind doors. I know that his father didn't like talking about the war, would not talk about the war when it come to Poppy Day, you know. That was a day where he'd be in remembrance of the soldiers, but he was apart from his family. He couldn't let his family be part of that because he felt that was a bad thing, a traumatic thing for him. So he could not share it with his family because that would be traumatizing them.
Yeah.
but he hid it through alcohol.
And came out in other ways.
And it came out in other ways. So, it's very sad.
It's really devastating that abuse just gets deep-seatedly rooted into like a family, and then until someone stops and wants to make a stand, like Pop did when he got to that point where he didn't want to be the abuser anymore, and he was going, you know what, no more, we're not doing that. So we were both impacted by the same person's abuse.
Yeah,
So Pop never abused me, but you and I both had gone through abuse by people in the family. How did you feel when you realised that we each carried and shared same experiences? Like when I was that little girl and you'd get the phone call saying you need to keep her safe, go around and stop it.
I felt frightened, scared. I suppose reoccurring.
Yeah.
Like it's happening again.
So it was like you were looking at me like I was you and you just wanted to keep me safe.
Yeah. So.
And you did, Auntie, you did. You did a great job at that.
Thank you.
You really did. Like you've been there and you shaped my life in so many amazing ways as well.
Yeah.
Like who would know where I was if you didn't do what you did do then?
Yeah. Well, that's what my husband kept saying to me. You know, you can't fix everything, but you can be there for the ones that need you. Always for the ones that need you.
Yeah. And like if then we move forward from that, like when you and I reconnected, when we reached out, you know, we were talking for a while and we had to build trust. That I had to build trust because I was so scared. Like I had gone then. I was like late teens when I was abandoned by the family. It was done, nothing. You know, I didn't have support. Came back and forth for a few years, but then when you know, I had absolutely zero contact from when Jaden was 6 months, you know, because at that hold of fear and of the cycle completely I had let go of and was moving forward from as well. And then you and I physically together reconnected in 2020. I feel like it was such a pivotal moment for both of us. And I'd love you to share what did it feel like to finally have that like safe space connecting where we laughed, we cried, no one else could get a word in. That was with us, like poor Uncle Stephen. He didn't get to have a voice, did he?
No, no, he didn't. But it was amazing. It was just like it was like finding you again.
Yeah,
holding you.
It was a pretty special moment.
It was the best.
Yeah. And then we went and had an amazing lunch.
Oh, yeah. That was good down at the beach.
Yep. And then we went and laid flowers for Pop.
Yes.
Together.
We did that too. We went and visited his grave, yes.
Yeah. So, and I think like the healing we both had from that embrace, like we're not alone, you know.
No, that's right. And it was like you feel like there's something missing and then you regain it, and you know when you regain it just how much you lost.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the worst thing with generation abuse.
Yeah.
That you lose that person. You know, and then when you get that person back, you've got all these regrets, but you can't hold on to them because you have to move forward.
Do you remember what I said to you?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
for everyone who is wondering what it was that I said to her, she probably won't be able to get the words out right now.
No.
I just said to her, I forgive you, and none of it was your fault.
That's it.
And because you needed that forgiveness to move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then, like, can you share a little bit of what it was like just sharing our stories and how, like, we've helped each other since then, like, try to move through this process of healing these wounds, and how has it changed your view of our past?
It has, because I saw what I went through. I was there for you for that short time.
Yeah.
I lost you. I regained you. It felt like a piece of the puzzle had come back, and something was missing is there again. And then I met your children.
Yeah, because you had never met my
No,
children. You missed
no,
out on their whole childhood. You never ever met my
that's what I'm
children.
saying. It's like that
Yeah.
missing of that piece that you know that you want,
Mm.
but you have to reach out to get that person's forgiveness.
Well, you're the only person in the whole family that knows my children.
I realise that.
So
Yeah,
that's huge.
I know. I know. That's what Stephen said. He says it is. And I said, Stephen, it's such a privilege to actually meet her kids, because I said, they're wonderful kids. I said, they're really, really level-headed, wonderful kids. And I said, and you can see just how much they adore and love their mother. And it couldn't have been easy for her to bring those kids up by
Yeah, it
herself
wasn't.
without any family. I said, she had no one.
And I don't think a lot of people know that, because I always put on a brave face. I don't think people understand when I say, like, I had no one, I had no one.
You had no one. No,
Yeah.
no one that was in your family unit to sit there and to help you out. No one to say, hey, look, I'll look after your kids for the weekend. You go and have time out, have a rest, have a break.
Mm. I was a single mum
No,
doing
you're a single
it.
mum, so you brought those kids up from top one all the way up.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
they're fantastic kids.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I think they are.
I think they're absolutely marvellous. I mean, the children today, I mean, there's so many kids out there that have had a rough life. And it can't be easy for the kids to also know what you've gone through in your life.
I've sort of they know enough to know why I have no family.
Yeah.
But I, being that cycle breaker, sharing that voice, that pattern, Pop started the movement of stopping it.
Yeah.
And I'm that one that I drew that line.
Yeah.
And then I had to heal. Once I drew that line, I had to heal. So one thing I don't think enough people talk about is the cycle of abuse and how it affects you. It's like you're walking around haunted on the inside. It's like all this pain is always just waiting to try to get out. And I had to learn to sit with all that pain, actually feel it, but not be reactive to it. And I made a decision when I was pregnant with Madison that this will never flow through them. Like, I will start the new legacy of the next branch of our family tree.
Yeah.
And so look, it wasn't easy. There was lots of moments. The kids have asked, they used to think my family was dead because they just didn't have anybody. On their father's side, they've got beautiful grandparents, a beautiful uncle, extended family there. So it wasn't as though they never felt they didn't understand what extended family was. They just didn't have it from me. So when their dad and I separated, his family's always been there and still are there. And I'm really grateful for their connection that they have with the kids. But for me, introducing them to you and Uncle Stephen was something that I will never forget. The first day you all met in person, like, we had a lot of video calls and we had a lot of all that stuff, like testing the waters on everything.
Because it would be hard for you to let us into your children's lives.
Yeah. It came at an emotional toll for me, but I had to make sure that I was ready.
Yeah.
And I had to prep the kids, because they still haven't read my book, because there's things in there that I don't, until I feel they're old enough. I don't need to traumatize them if they knew the depth of what I actually did go through.
Yeah.
And like, just to shed a little bit of light on it, even years later, after I had nothing to do with my family, that day you told me that you were around at my parents' house and you witnessed them packing my belongings, like my school records and all that, putting them into a postage bag because they just wanted to post my life back to me because I didn't want it.
Yeah, they were cleaning out all the photos, photo albums, trophies, netball. I'm not netball, basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And that can't have been easy to see them, because you and I had just started loosely talking every now and then.
yeah,
That would have been a sticky situation for you to be in as well.
yeah. It definitely was. I found that I couldn't communicate with your mum and dad or talk to them about you because every time I put something positive over, or I said, look, Janelle's done a wonderful job of bringing up the kids. I said, they're beautiful kids. It would always come up with a negative thing.
Mm.
Don't believe anything she says. She's a liar. She's this, she's that. So everything come back negative to me, and then I'd put a positive on it, and I'd say, Janelle's bettering herself. She's doing this and she's doing that. The same thing. You always get a negative response.
The fact that they still held me to blame for their choices,
Yeah,
and it was easier for them to, in their minds, to have said, and this doesn't just happen with them. This happens with everyone
they were still playing the
in the
blame game.
cycle. Yeah, and that's just a cycle that they were in as well. So, but to be a child and to be labelled as the liar or a bad person,
It was always negative. It was never positive. They never gave you any kind
it's
of
just another form of they're trying to manipulate, they're trying to control, and
yes.
I had to let go of all of that. So
So
that if I
and
heard
I
that they
had to
thought
learn to let
those,
go of that because
yeah,
I then thought, no, communicating with you is not working because you were just in the past and you're in this circle of just
they were, yeah,
they were in this
yeah.
circle of this hate, 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 and
Mm.
and
And
blame,
how awful
blame.
is that they hate their child so much?
Yeah, and I just thought, you know what? If I was you, and those two children were my grandkids, and I
Mm,
hadn't seen them grow up,
mm,
I would be devastated.
mm.
I would
But
be devastated. But no, they just carried
you
on with
can't
life.
heal their pain for them. You can't, and
And
that's
that's what
okay
I
as
found out.
well.
Through
Yeah.
your advice, I found that out. I was trying to heal it. I was
Mm,
trying to be that bridge and
mm,
trying to bridge it over so you would have ways of talking path between us.
mm.
It wasn't working. They were destroying my bridge every time I put it up. They were destroying it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make my bridge with her and I'm
Mm.
going to go forward. You want to
Yeah.
stay there in that hateful cycle. You want to stay there in the blame cycle. You don't want to take responsibility on what you did and your actions. I said, that's your problem. I'm
Mm.
taking the responsibility of my actions. I'm apologizing for the way I acted. And I'm waiting to see if I'm going to be forgiven.
And I did. I welcomed you.
That's it.
And like with that, like
And
that is forms PTSD, right?
yes,
And so they can make you feel really, really isolated, especially when you've like tried in the past to get past the trauma. But like, what were some of the hardest challenges that you faced in navigating this burden of what you carrying for me? Like, what were some of the hardest challenges you had?
the hardest challenges of them not believing me, of my mother not believing me,
Mm,
um, of how they put my brother in this hierarchy where he's at the top and everything he says, does, did, will do is all right.
mm. Enabled the
He,
cycle to continue.
yes, he's in the right.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the right to cause other people pain. He doesn't. He doesn't have to accept it,
Mm,
you know. And even if you want to force him or say to him the pain that you've caused or bring up what he has said,
mm,
he doesn't own it.
mm.
He then calls you the liar, calls you the perpetrator, calls says makes up these lies about you, and then you go on the defense. I didn't like that. I didn't like having to defend myself. So I thought, no, it's like a vicious circle.
I know.
My other
And
sister.
it would have been like it would have been really hard for you to like, because like you talk about losing me and
Yeah.
then gaining me, and like that weight, and when you kept trying to reconnect the family, trying to keep the family together, but realize that that wasn't working. And then you decided, no, I want Janelle in my life. I wanted to know her children. I want to be that family member to her. That for years, like I'm assuming that you just carried this massive weight around, almost like this wound, like you said, like, and then you got me back and we started healing.
Yeah. Well, your papa would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
My father
Yeah.
would have done the same thing. He
Yeah.
believed in family. He made the sacrifice of giving up drink and changing his whole life around, and he worked hard at it. Why?
And you can
He
heal
wanted,
together.
yeah, he
Yeah.
wanted family. He wanted to heal everything. He wanted to make everything better,
Yeah.
you know?
So
And that's, to me, that he
what you did.
rocketed. He rocketed right through. I mean,
Mm.
I had a shitty childhood with his drinking, but for him to change,
Yeah.
that rocketed my value of him right
You give
through the roof.
space, hey, and you
It was,
appreciate it.
oh, so much, because you see them doing the fight. You see them doing the hard work.
Mm.
Yeah. And that's what, if my father was alive when this was happening to you, oh my God,
He wouldn't have let
he
it.
wouldn't have let it happen. Would
So
not.
with that as well, like the cycle, like ultra trauma and abuse, it can often feel like it is unbreakable. Like you and I both know that.
Yeah.
So, what was it like for you, Auntie, to face that cycle head on, both like in your own life and with the pain that you and I experienced together?
It was scary.
Mm.
And I tell you what, I was really frightened that maybe I was going to get it wrong.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You never quite know whether your healing is going in the right way. I was just a bit worried
Yeah.
that I would revert back and go back to being quiet, because it would be too hard to face those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
And they're big
and
feelings,
they're
right?
big
And I think
feelings.
that's why people do run away from them, because they are big and they're loud and they are terrifying.
Oh, they are. And that's
Mm.
what I'm saying. And that was my main thing. I was fearing, of hiding, of going back, and instead of keep pushing forward. So it took a lot to keep pushing forward. But it helped. You know what helped?
What?
The phone calls.
My regular check-ins.
The regular check-ins. That helped, because you feel yourself slipping, but do you get a phone call from, I don't know whether you sensed it or not, but I get a phone call, and all of a sudden I get off the phone and I text you and say, oh dear, I'm happy now that I've talked to you,
Yeah.
things like that. That's because I was feeling like I was going to
Flip.
flip back, but then you kind of brought me forward again, and then I kept going, and now I feel
Because I said to you,
great.
I've got you. Like I've done this. Let
Yeah,
me like lead you to help you get through this pain now.
yeah,
So I wholeheartedly wanted, I guess, do in a way. Pop maybe came through with me. Who knows what this was, but there was some sort of divine intervention that kept pushing me to go. She's safe.
yes,
Your auntie's safe to be with, and I, from my healing work and facing those ugly parts of family and domestic violence and being abandoned, and felt like I had no one. It wasn't a feeling that I didn't have anyone. I actually didn't have anybody. And people often say to me, well, how can you be so happy? How can you be so strong? And I haven't always been that way. I had to do the work on myself, and that took years. It wasn't just like a light bulb moment. It was constant work and continues to today. But I felt I was in the best spot for when we reconnected. I wanted you to feel healing. I wanted you to feel you had some healthy love in our family genetics as well.
yeah, I did. Your strength helped me to keep going,
Mm.
and it was like, it was refreshing to know that somebody could actually forgive you, really forgive you.
Yeah,
That was
you
the
can.
main thing.
You can forgive.
Yeah, and
And
that's right. That's what I've been doing, is sitting back and saying, she forgived. I can
mm,
forgive.
Mm.
Then we can move on.
And we have, like,
Oh,
I remember our phone calls and our chats. We had a lot of venting between each other, a lot. And I remember this one call with you. I'm like, let's make a pact that we don't just do this every time now. I feel like
yes,
we're at the point where
yes,
let's go and have some fun together
fun.
now. Like, remember that? And I was like, no,
Yes,
we need to go have some fun now. And things are always going to come up, but let's build our own relationship for just you and me.
that's it. Yeah.
I think like reconnecting like with you, it really helped me not feel like I was alone at that point on my journey anymore. And from what you've shared, I feel like you had that comfort as well. What was it like for you to know that we could lean on each other and have trust? Because that's a huge thing.
Oh, trust is an amazing thing. It is
Mm.
amazing. And for you to trust me with meeting your children, oh my God, that set me through the roof. But
Fills that heart cup, doesn't it?
I felt really, really good, and it's like that. Um, I lost part of my family, my brothers and that, but I gained you and your family. So I wasn't at a loss.
Mm.
I found something through trauma. I found something beautiful.
Yeah.
So that's my main thing that I hang on to is I
Yeah.
found something beautiful.
Oh, Auntie. And like we both have worked so hard, right, to move forward from our
Yes,
past.
definitely.
Um, what are some of the things that you've said, like I've given you advice and stuff that's helped, but what are some of the other things that you've done for yourself and your own beliefs and through work we've done together too? What's helped you gain your sense of self? Because like you've gone from being really hurting and broken, and I know how it feels to start actually feeling again and being happy. And you've shared that even when you're around your own kids at family things and Christmas stuff now, you don't feel flighty anymore. You feel like you can enjoy it a lot more now.
Um, I suppose it's because I don't have this negative in my life. These,
Mm.
oh, how can I explain it? Negativity, because there was always in the other with my other family, there was always like negative things going. Oh, that person's so and so, or oh, I don't like that, and I don't like that, or
Mm-hmm.
oh, you know, I wouldn't call her disabled.
Yeah.
All this kind of thing, all this negative kind of thing. I don't have that anymore. I have
Mm.
positive things. I have.
You're out walking now. I saw you've joined a walking group.
I joined a walking group. I've got
Yeah.
a beautiful young little poodle. I go out walking with ladies. I'm going out for.
But first of all, as well, you've got an adoring husband, and I keep seeing Uncle's head walk back and forth in this. So I'm like, give him a big shout out as well. He's been like, he really supported you and I and gave us both the space we needed. And I have so much respect and love for Uncle Stephen.
Oh,
He's
he's
on
fantastic.
man. Yeah,
He's really good. He's like Nicole said, you can ask Dad for anything, and he'll just give it to you.
yeah.
He said, if you want time out, if you want a fight, you can get a fight from him too. You can get positives and reinsurance and everything like that. And he's come to the point where he says to me, you hold on to the ones that give you a good feeling, positive feeling, and you let
Mm,
go of the ones that have all the negative in your life. And he
yeah.
says, you don't need them.
Yeah.
He says, you really
And
don't need them.
it is hard. It's a hard thing to cut off. And like if you could speak to little Vicky, if you could speak to the little Vicky in you, during the times of abuse when you went through it, and like little Janelle when I was going through it, what would you say to give her comfort or hope? And like how would you encourage her, knowing what we both know now, to keep going?
I would say, hold on.
Mm,
Hold on to yourself.
yeah.
Keep yourself safe. Hold on to yourself and know that you have done nothing wrong and
Mm,
you do not deserve this.
yeah.
And there is going to be something at the end of this that's bigger, brighter, and you are going to get there in the end.
That's just so beautiful. And I feel the same. Like I had to do a lot of work with um because a lot of the times, like when you go through domestic and family violence as a child, it's almost, it pauses your mental growth. So, for example, like I could be 20, but I would revert to behaviors of safety of when I was a child, when trauma would happen,
Yeah.
because it was like this pattern. When I was this age, this happened, I felt this way. I got to react the same as I did then. And then it was, sometimes I used to always say, I feel like I've got Peter Pan syndrome. I feel like I just can never grow up.
Right.
Because growing up scared me, because growing up meant all these years have passed and I had no one. I had no family.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn to sit with that and go, you, little Janelle, is my freaking hero. Like, she gave me the strength to keep going.
Yes.
And I got to one point in my life where I'm like, okay, little Janelle, there's like a coloring in book and some crayons over there. You just go be a child, and adult Janelle is going to take life forward. Like, I had to put her at peace and let her be a kid, and just let's go to work now. Let's be a grown up.
Yeah. And it is hard. It is very,
Mm,
very hard to, but yeah, that little child, you want to
mm.
protect that little child.
You do. And like we'll continue to heal together. And like I know we will, because it's like a life journey of doing this healing of a cycle, like what we endured. But what do you hope for our shared future? And this is a good one. What message would you like to share with others who may still feel trapped in their cycle of trauma, believing that they don't even have a way out?
Oh, wow. Look, for our shared future, I see big things happening. I can see Maddie graduating.
Mm-hmm. That's next year.
I know, right? As I said, I can see her graduating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can see uh, her going into her life path that she wants to go to, whether it's to university or whether it's job thing, and just watching her grow.
Mm,
And then watching Jaden go through his life cycle, and just realizing that these are the next generation of you
mm,
that are going forward. I think it's amazing to stand back and see that happen. I'm seeing that happen with my own kids, and I'm
mm,
seeing that happen with my grandkids. So I think that's the best thing. The best thing is seeing the next generation go through and do their thing of getting a driver's license, graduating from
yeah.
from high school, graduating from university, getting a job, relationship rise. Oh my God! Can you see them all having kids and you being a grandma?
No, not yet.
Oh, well, you've got all that to look forward to too. It's amazing. It's just this whole cycle of life just keeps going, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to see whatever they want to accomplish in life,
Mm,
them doing it, and me being there and seeing it happen, because that's the main thing.
yeah.
I like that with my own kids. I like that with the grandkids. I just think it's seeing them and their achievements makes me happy.
Yeah, that's nice.
Now, your next part of the question was,
It was, what advice would you give to others who are feeling like stuck in that cycle of trauma, like there's no way out for them? What would,
hold on,
what, mm,
reach out,
talk, hey, talk,
talk.
find someone who will listen.
That's it. It's reaching out. Hold on to yourself and then reach out for the help that you need,
Mm.
and then persist to go forward. Always make it about going forward. You
And
can
it's really
deal
hard.
with your
Sometimes I feel
past.
like you go forward, back, sideways, and round and round.
You can deal with your past and what happened to you, but always go forward from it. Never let it suck you back to the way you were feeling.
Mm.
You know,
And if we can do it, let's hope for that. Hopefully our message can give that to somebody else. If
that's
someone's
it.
watching this and like if they're feeling like they need help and support, um,
Then
I'll
reach
include,
out.
yeah, reach out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the best thing you could ever do for your life is to to
Mm,
to to reach out and ask for the help.
yeah.
And you know what? Asking for the help does not make you weak. It makes you strong, because that's the biggest thing. You have to be strong to ask for that help.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Thank you, Aunty Vic.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So we'll end it there, but yeah, you'll probably see more of us in the future. All right.
All right. I'll see you later, everyone. Bye.
Bye.